Well, hello everybody, and welcome at last to my Megadeth kind of spotlight thingy. This is it, finally, and it's been a wee while coming. Obviously, for those of you who've subscribed to my channel for a bit of time, I did a couple of kind of review type videos on the first four Megadeth albums that I had picked up. Yeah, and so I did a brief kind of thing on those, and they're about 1.5 to 2 years old, those videos, so I'll leave links to them below if anyone happens to be interested in going back and looking at them again. They're very unprofessional, just me rambling and yeah, just giving a kind of opinion on what I thought of the albums. Now, the thing with me and Megadeth, Megadeth were one of the big four. Thrash, obviously, as most folk will know. I am not a thrash metal fan. It's a style I've never really gotten into at all. Particularly back in the day, when I was younger, it just didn't appeal to me. It was just kind of, at the time, it was very fast, it was very kind of harsh, it was very kind of miserable sounding, aggressive, kind of a different type of music to what I was starting to like and experience and get into, which was obviously the more melodic hard rock, kind of traditional metal, what I would term as more musical metal, I guess. That's kind of how I view it. I mean, the word music itself, if you're in the music business, your product should be musical. That's the whole point of it, for me anyway. That's just how it is. So I was never into that, and over years, I guess you grow and you evolve, and you kind of your tastes change slightly or a lot. It depends, they expand or they shift. You try different things, and you could try something that you tried years ago and hated and listen to again and actually think, well, it's not that bad actually, it's quite decent. All those kind of things might happen. And with me, in regards to thrash bands, Megadeth, I don't know why, I don't really have an explanation for it, but Megadeth and probably to a lesser extent Metallica were the two that kind of interested me the most. And I felt I recognised their significance in the music, the metal world, if you like. They'd obviously become big bands, created a huge following, fan base, etc. For their types of music, and did what they. The output that came for these guys, I guess, was what am I trying to say here? Was of a high standard, and considered, kind of a benchmark, I guess, for up and coming bands that would come after them, and I guess that was kind of the same for the likes of Slayer and Anthrax, hence the big four. And obviously we know that there's another bunch that came out of Germany as well, and so on and so forth, blah 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 blah. But Megadeth just seemed to be a band that I, although didn't really like, I kind of had an appreciation for Dave Mustaine as a musician and an artist. And I don't know where that came from. Perhaps it came from, it stemmed back a while when I read a magazine interview with him. It was I think it came from a guitar magazine, 1990s, perhaps, and he stated in that interview that some of his early shut up, Beverly. I'll get the teeth in, right? Some of his early influences included early Def Leppard. The albums On Through the Night and High and Dry for him were an influence on his early guitar playing style development, etc., etc. Which I thought was kind of interesting and cool, obviously, being a Steve Clark fan. That was kind of cool. Another guy who some people might not be aware of, who cited On Through the Night as a big influence on their musical roots, was Dimebag Darrell. He had also stated that On Through the Night was a major influence on his musical directions and tastes and stuff like that. But that's by the by. But yeah, and so I think that's where it kind of started from with Dave Mustaine. I thought, okay, this guy does have a brain then. He cites them as one of his. That's just the dog. Oh, okay, so if that's one of his influences, kind of cool. And I think maybe just from then I've always kind of had a kind of a respect in a way, I don't know. Anyway, so getting on, and I had learned later on in life, I don't know the full history, I still have a Dave Mustaine book to read. It's in the queue, and it will be getting read soon. I'm hoping to get into that soon. And so I don't know the full details of his musical history, but I know he had a hand injury at one time, which he wasn't sure if he was going to be able to come back. And I think, if I'm right, forgive me if I'm wrong, but was it The System Has Failed was the kind of comeback album for him, musically, obviously. So I thought, to come back from such an injury and be able to play guitar well again is pretty cool. I suppose, musicians having issues with their limbs that they use to operate their instruments is a pretty difficult thing to overcome. So I thought that was kind of cool. And joining the VC about 2 to 3 years ago, maybe, people were showing Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, and all these guys. And it was, Megadeth, I wonder if I should just give them a go again. And this kind of went to the back of my mind, and I thought, right, okay. So I picked up a few of their albums, just random ones, really. I wanted to start with the well-known earlier ones, or some of them anyway. So I managed to grab a few cheaply off eBay and Music Magpie, paying just £2 or £3 for them, good condition CDs. So this is what this video is all about. Now, obviously, I've just talked for 8 minutes here, and they're just all still. I had them piled up in order of release, so I think they're still in some kind of order. Sorry, I've got them written here. But yeah, I have 10 of their albums. I don't have the entire discography, it is not complete, so I've just gone through what I have, and I'm going to briefly talk about them. So let me just check again. That's that and that. That's the first two. Then we've got these ones. Is that right? That one is. Yeah. I think these are the right order if I've got them in right. So here they are. Okay. Let me just. And I'm going to go through them in the order they were released through the catalogue. So, and I made some notes, I listened to each one, some of them a couple of times, and I had to make notes because I'm not familiar with Megadeth in the way that a genuine proper fan would be, as in Frankie, must know everything inside out. So obviously if I have to make notes, and it means I can't recall what every song sounds like in my head, it's not stuck up here. But anyway, so we're starting off with, this is the first one I have, I don't have their debut. This is Peace Sells But Who's Buying? Because I went for this one because I did recall hearing Peace Sells But Who's Buying a while back, the actual song, and it kind of stuck for some reason. So obviously there was something memorable about that particular track for me. So yes, what I've got here is I quite liked the first 4 tracks on this album, which is Wake Up Dead, The Conjuring, Peace Sells and Devil's Island, and I like the last track, My Last Words. This album, obviously it's more traditional sounding Megadeth, you know, as an early album from their catalogue as a thrash band. I thought in the track Good Morning Black Friday, I thought listening to this there was a bit of a Led Zeppelin kind of esque vibe going on, or riff in that track. So yeah, I quite like this album. Is it something I could listen to now and again? Probably yes. I probably could. It's not something I would just never want to play again. It's not something I would, you know, for me being power metal, traditional metal, hard rock, the melodic pop rock kind of stuff, this is never going to be a first choice pick, but if I'm in the mood for something a little bit different, a little bit more aggressive, or something like that, you know, it's there. I'd happily put it on. So the next one in the catalogue is So Far So Good So What, 1988. I was having kind of trouble initially between this one and the next one, Rust in Peace, as to which one I liked better out of the two, so I went and listened to them again. And so I went and listened to the game and made some notes, and so for this one, Into the Lungs of Hell opens, and it's instrumental, which I thought was quite a fast-paced, energetic opener, some good guitar work, and it was quite musical sounding. And then when track 2 began, Set the World Afire, I thought this one, it starts off sounding kind of Judas Priest-esque, you know, something that may have come out of their catalogue, and up to when Dave Mustaine starts singing on this track. And then it becomes a bit more faster, thrashier sounding, and generally I thought it was just okay. It kind of went away from that Judas Priest and had its own kind of style. Track 3, Anarchy in the UK, which we know is a cover, I hate it. I just hate the original and I hate the cover because I just don't like the song, so we'll move on for that. Track 4, I thought Mary Jane, my notes here say is a bit sinister sounding to begin with. However, it does not develop into something I like too much, because I felt it was a bit more doomy, gloomy, miserable sounding, just the general tone of the song. Track 502, track number 5 rather, 502 is okay. There's a good bit of guitar happening in here, and I thought a couple of the phrases, just short bits, sounded very High and Dry-esque of Def Leppard. I thought, yep. Just even the tone of the guitars, the guitar sound, and just like the little runs, I thought that's kind of something Steve or Pete would maybe play. Just really short bits, but overall I didn't think that song was something I really enjoyed overall. Track 6 I thought was a bit better, In My Darkest Hour, a steadier pace to the song, a good riff in it. In track 7, I didn't particularly enjoy, or track 8, which was Hook and Mouth. The last two tracks I wasn't fussed for much. I didn't like the vocals as much on track 8 either, and the guitars on quite a bit of this album actually, as far as the leads and solos go, I just thought they were a bit kind of too much whittling nonsense. The solos, they didn't mean much to me. They didn't sound creative enough. It just sounded like scale runs up and down the fretboard, repeated, and just too much nonsense, silly kind of stuff, the male testosterone stuff, if you like, if you want to ask from a female point of view. So yeah, next one. Rust in Peace comes up next, from 1990. I have to confess, this is one of my favourite cover arts. I think that's pretty cool stuff. So, Rust in Peace, track 1. Yeah, I've got here track 1. It's around about 6 minutes long, but not too interesting for me. Same little riff all the way through, so I guess it got a bit tedious for me. Track 2 is immediately better, almost immediately. It sounds better. Hanger 18, this one. Now, I don't know if that's to do with the choice of key or the notes used, but I did find there was a bit more of a melodic feel to track 2, and the guitars were more interesting, what was going on with them. Track 3 is alright. I've got better than track 1, but not as good as track 2. It was a bit faster and more traditional thrash sounding, so that was Take No Prisoners. Track 4, 5 Magics, I thought was okay. It's kind of a gloomy vibe again to this song, but did have some interesting guitar moments, and also some irritating guitar moments, just a couple, but that's how I feel. I forgot to write my notes down for track 5, Poison Was the Cure. I thought that one was not too bad, but I can't really, I need to put it on to remind myself. So track 6, Lucretia. I liked this song. It had a bit of a good groove or a good vibe to it. So that was one of the highlights on this album for me. And track 7, Tornado of Souls, I felt it was another pretty decent one. I have put some mild Maiden vibes about that one just in places. Track 8, Dawn Patrol, which is a short, slow, steady-paced number, which is kind of just a bass line that takes you along, and Mustaine's vocals are kind of low and quiet sounding, so it doesn't last too long, but I thought it was alright. It was a bit different from the rest of the album, obviously. And track 9 is good, I've put. So that's Rust in Peace, Polaris. And a quick note I put on Mustaine's voice. He sounds better on some albums than on others. I find at times he's got quite a dry sounding voice. I think it's maybe just very samey at times. But it's obviously to do with the style and what the tracks call for, and the style of music that they're playing and going for. So, Countdown to Extinction is 1992. So yeah, and yeah. So what have I got this one? Well, for this one, I didn't do track for track. I just kind of put a I didn't put brief track notes, I put like a paragraph down generalising this one for some reason, I don't know why, because I was doing this over a course of a couple of weeks. But what I've got here is the title track is not bad, and Sweating Bullets perhaps. Psychotron is okay too, so so what did I put here? The title track and Sweating Bullets. So the title track, yeah. Countdown to Extinction. Psychotron is track 9 and Sweating Bullets is track 5. So for this one, these were probably the 3 I liked the best. And then I've got some general notes. The sound on these albums, meaning this one and the previous... Oh, what are you doing? Suki just moved and made me jump. It's quite quiet in here today. So what I'm meaning is, sound is very rigid on these albums. This is me trying to find words to describe the guitar tone and the style. Power chords all the way, you know, there's this heavy machine-like sound almost, very crispy, robotic. And what I noticed, there wasn't much in the way of feel to the songs. You know, I like these songs that give you this, generate this kind of feel thing, or make you feel warm and fuzzy inside, you know, like the hairs will stand up on your arms or whatever, or the back of your neck or whatever when you hear this solo or this uplifting section of a track or whatever. And I've put, I don't know if this is right, but this is kind of what I was thinking at the time as far as trying to get my descriptive words in. I thought it feels very one-dimensional musically. To me, there's not a lot going on in the music. It's all just the same. As I say, power chords, machine-like, just chug, 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 very quick. If I was to compare it to, say, what I meant by four-dimensional or something, I would take an album like, you know, Hysteria is an obvious one for me, because, for example, on any of those tracks, there is, you know, there's 4, 5, 6, God knows how many different guitar parts, and they're all playing different bits of music, and they're all happening at the same time, so you're getting different bits of music coming at you all at the same time, and it's all making this, it's blending, it's a composed piece of music, where there's been specific choices in notes and phrases and scales and keys and all this kind of stuff, which I kind of feel in this kind of music is definitely not the case. It's very flatter, maybe. That's how I would kind of maybe say. So we'll move on from that anyway, because, you know, this is probably going to be a little bit long. I apologise for that, but I've got to get all my rambling out here, and I do want this done in one video, so you can always pause and come back. So then we get to Euthanasia. Now I have 2 copies of this, and you'll notice, if you look close enough, slight differences to the look of them. I'll try to show you this without the light glare there. This one here on your left, as you're looking at this maybe, you'll notice the band logo is smaller, and on this one here, it's bigger. Slight difference in colour tone. The sky is slightly purplier in this one, and Euthanasia is in purple here, but it's in white here. And on the spine as well, I don't know how well, Euthanasia is in green, but you've got Megadeth in blue and Megadeth in purple. So now one is a One's a US pressing and one is a UK pressing. So, and I ended up with two because I think I got the US pressing first, and the CD surface is a little bit scratched, and there's a couple of skipping or sticking issues, and I cannot have that on my CDs. No. So I went and found another copy, and the CD surface on here is lovely. There's no problems. So yeah, Euthanasia, 1994. And for this one, let's just go back and get my notes out. I've put first track on Euthanasia, and already a notable difference. More notes, more musically interesting. That's what I've put. So that was Reckoning Day. Addicted to Chaos has a cool riff. Blood of Heroes has a cool guitar groove and good solo. I like the bass line on track 8, Family Tree. And the title track, Euthanasia, has interesting riffs. So I've put, for me, Euthanasia is a big step up musically, and I would describe it as not really thrash, more just straight up metal. I quite liked all the songs on this album. So for me, this is the first album that I really quite enjoyed all the way through, I guess, you know. So yeah, I was quite impressed with this. Then on to the next one that's released, Cryptic Writings 1997. This one here. So I've got here tracks. Hang on. The first 4 tracks were not that great for me. I just didn't feel like I enjoyed them. I don't know if that was again down to the keys and the notes that were chosen for the music. I just felt they were a bit gloomy sounding, and I know when I showed this one on my Facebook page when I was spinning it one day, I think it was maybe Dan Powers, he said he loved the song Trust, which is the opening track on here. Now, from what I recall, it's an okay song, but again, there was just something about it for me that just, I thought, this is kind of miserable sounding or dull sounding. As I say, it might have been the key or something, I don't know. So tracks 5 and 6 are more enjoyable and likeable, I've got, which is The Disintegrators and I'll Get Even. Tracks 7, 8 and 9 are not bad either, 7, 8 and 9, so that's Sin, A Secret Place, Have Cool Will Travel. So I think after, when it hit track 5, obviously there was something about the music that I kind of thought, oh, this is better. And again, it might have been a change of key or something, or a bit more musical interest for me. 10 and 11 are good, some good guitars. She-Wolf from Vortex. The last track, which is FFF, Fight for Freedom, is okay. It reminded me of something that the band Bad Religion, who were kind of, did they come out in the new metal kind of era, or just after, or during the grunge kind of time? I think they were actually early 90s, early to mid 90s. I don't know what you'd call them. Are they alternative? I don't know. But they were a different style of metal anyway, and I thought the beginning of FFF, or that song, sounded like the start of something that Bad Religion would maybe put out. But it's a nice short length, 2 minutes 38 I've got here. Next one coming up after that is Risk from 1999. One that was recommended to me when I was talking about Megadeth in the past. People says, oh well, you might like this one because it's obviously hated by the hardcore thrash fans, so therefore I'm going to like it, which makes sense, I guess. I've put Prince of Darkness and Crush 'Em, that's tracks 2 and track 4, are really good, and Breadline is quite melodic. The Doctor Is Calling is good, has a nice kind of a groove to it. I'll Be There is quite melodic. There's actually some singing in this song. So Mustaine must have been kind of more sort of sounding like he was singing the lyrics, rather than kind of just speaking them or kind of spitting them out in that kind of style that, again, the tracks call for, I guess. Wanderlust I've put has a bit of a Wanted Dead or Alive vibe to it. So it kind of had that is that maybe one of the tracks that had this a bit of an acoustic moment in it as well. Maybe that's where I got that from. Ecstasy is not bad. 7, track 10, has a Zeppelin-inspired riff and style, I would say, and it turns into a good rocking tune. And tracks 11 and 12, which is Time, Beginning and End, I was not so excited about, so that was the weakest points on this album for me. Overall, it was one of the better listens as far as I'm concerned. Then the next one I have is The System Has Failed. So as I say, this is the one I mentioned where I think it's the Mustaine comeback after his hand injury and he's kind of fully recovered. 2004, another one that I like the artwork on here, really cool. So the opening track, Blackmail the Universe, is fast and energetic, and track 2 as well is pretty good. That's my phone, I'm reading all this stuff off from here. So I'm sorry that I keep looking, but yeah, I should have said that right at the beginning, I suppose, but never mind. This is the unprofessional review here from Beth. The no frills, no editing, no fancy gimmicks, just me talking to you. Kick the Chair is another energy-fueled song with solid riffs. The Scorpion, more solid riffs, good song. Tears in a Veil and I Know Jack are okay. Now my friend Valerie in Florida, she's not a member of the vinyl community, but she's a fan of Steve Clark. She mentioned that there was a bit of a Steve Clark kind of vibe about part of the guitar on Tears in a Veil. And to be honest, I didn't pick up on that at first, so I'm going to have to go back and listen closely again, because she has mentioned that to me before, and I just totally forgot about it, I think. And again, it didn't strike with me at first, so I'm going to go back and listen to that song specifically for the Clark-esque vibe about the guitars. I don't know. Back in the Day is great, possibly my favourite track on the album. That was track 7. Something I'm Not is quite good. Truth Be Told, good. Of Mice and Men, quite good. Shadow of Death and My Kingdom, again the last 2 tracks as well, I was not too excited about, so again, like the previous album, the last 2 tracks weren't my favourite parts of it. Next up I have United Abominations. This one is 2007. So Sleepwalker, good energetic opener. Again, it's more heavy metal sounding than thrash to me. On Washington is next, there's a guitar that reminds me a little bit about the main lead in Wasted Years. I thought there was a bit of a Maiden influence about that song, and that was the track that came to mind. Hang on a sec, what have I done here? Just hit something on my phone. So yeah, that was track 2. Tracks 3, 4 and 5. are decent, but three songs I thought sounded a bit samey. Because maybe, again, it's maybe the key or the style of the tracks. There was some good riffs in them, but I felt that these three tracks got a bit boring to me as they progressed. I liked tracks 6 and 7. So 6 and 7 are Blessed Are the Dead and Play for Blood. A Tout Le Monde, I've put a good version. I noticed A Tout Le Monde is on Euthanasia. That's where that one seems to come up first, which is a track I liked. And on this track they have a female guest featuring Christina Scabia. So she features on that. So again, it's a decent version. I can't decide really which one I prefer. Possibly the original or the first one. Americanistan is quite an interesting and upbeat track, I thought. And the last two tracks are okay. Burnt Ice, again, I thought a bit more of a Maiden influence in some of the guitars. So overall, solid, interesting album, but a bit dull and samey in places. So Endgame is the next one I have. 2009. The opening track is an instrumental, Dialectic Chaos, and to me, I thought it was very much in the style of Running Wild. I thought I heard the Running Wild influence in there right away, very much a guitar melody right across that one from the get-go. Track 2, fast-paced, energetic song, as is track 3, 44 minutes. I wasn't too impressed with track 4, which is this 1320. Too much overplaying on the guitar, just too much whittling that just didn't really sound like it meant anything. Tracks 5 and 6 I thought were good, Bite the Hand and Bodies. Track 7 I thought was a bit more thrash sounding, that's the title track. Track 8 starts off slowly like a ballad and then changes to a faster pace and then it slows down again. So quite an interesting song, that one. Track 9, in fact track 8, that one I just mentioned, it's got quite a long title. The Hardest Part of Letting Go, Sealed with a Kiss. Head Crusher is a more thrashy styled song, a really fast riff going on in that one, and you've got that classic chug chug and drum sound that that kind of fast thing. I have noticed that throughout the Megadeth catalogue, I was checking, there's a lot of lineup changes that have happened, different guitarists coming in, and I happened to notice, I noted the guitar player on this one, Chris Broderick. He does have some very fast lead work going on, but just in places I thought he just overdid it with his silly whittling nonsense game. Just a little bit here and there, but overall I thought he was a very good lead player. He just needs to control it and just not go over that, over the top. There's the line he shouldn't cross, which makes it go from being great to being ridiculous. Discipline, guitar people, discipline. And for this one, the last two tracks are pretty good. So on this one I thought the last two tracks were not too bad at all. Overall, a good album. And the last one I have in their catalogue, this is I think the latest, 2016, is Dystopia. Cool artwork again on this one. I thought track 1, The Threat Is Real, is very good. And 2 and 3 were also good. Dystopia and Fatal Illusion. Track 4, very good. So the first 4 tracks I'm liking. And I've put, there's a lot more going on musically by this stage of Megadeth, I guess, of what I've been listening to. Bullet to the Brain is another good solid song. Post-American World is alright. Track 7 is okay, but it was a bit gloomy sounding. So what one was that? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's Poisonous Shadows. 8 is an instrumental, which I thought was not overly exciting. So there's been better instrumentals than that one, obviously, for me. 9 is good, Lying in State. 10 is okay. 10, hang on, 9 is Conqueror, hang on a minute, I've lost track of that, because they're not numbered, which helps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I seem to, 10, 11, I seem to have 12 here. No, it's maybe just the way I ignore me. I've got a number 12 here, but I don't think I've meant to write the number. It's just a footnote. So yeah, Lying in State, good. 10, okay. 11, not the best. And I've got the last couple, again, are not as good as some other tracks on the album. So yeah, overall, pretty decent. So that covers my notes on all these Megadeth albums. So for someone who doesn't like thrash bands, where does that leave me? That leaves me looking at Megadeth, thinking they're actually, from me sitting here now in 2021, they're actually a pretty good band. I quite like them. I like some of their stuff. I don't like all of it. There's a few of the tracks that are really enjoyable. Again, they're a band, they're certainly not my favourite band. They're not one that I go-to band, you know, if I was certainly looking for a pick-me-up, you know how I like all my feel-good music. This is not the band I would go to for that at all. But as I say, if I wanted something just a bit of different style, a little bit more aggression, or harder edge in places, this is probably something I might look to pull out one of these guys. But yes, definitely they definitely earned their respect in the music world, I would say. And there was something else I was going to say there. I haven't, obviously that's all I have. I haven't got all of their catalogue, so if there's any others in there that I haven't shown that you think would appeal to me, I'll probably, over the course of time, investigate that anyway. But what I just want to say, I have put them in a kind of order of favouritism. So what I like, what I'd say my favourite is and what my worst is. I've kind of ranked them, if you like. But again, as I say, this is just my personal rank, and this whole video is my opinion on Megadeth's music, because, as I say, thrash is not my thing. But I am pleased that I can now listen to the odd album now and again from a band like this, and kind of appreciate some of the music. So I'm going to reel them off in order of worst to best, right? Just to end this video here. So that's 11 albums coming up here. So the worst one, or the one I like the least, is Countdown to Extinction. Now I know that a lot of people love that, but for me, it's the most depressing, the most miserable, the most boring, and the most unexciting musically. followed by So Far So Good So What comes second bottom. Surprisingly, I thought this one would be further up the list, but I've stuck it in at third bottom. Risk from 1999, even though it's a much different album to the other two I've just mentioned. Above that comes in United Abominations. Then above that, at number 7, Rust in Peace from 1990. Quite like some of that. Just above that one comes in Dystopia, their latest, and then just above Dystopia, The System Has Failed, the earliest one I have, from 1986. Sorry, beg your pardon. The System Has Failed comes above Dystopia, and Peace Sells, the earliest one, comes in just above The System Has Failed. I had a bit of trouble deciding on those two, which one I liked better. I kind of like them the same, so you could say Dystopia's at number 6, and you could then say The System Has Failed and Peace Sells are at equal 4, perhaps. For me, number 3 is Cryptic Writings. I think I prefer that one to Risk. When I first got them, I thought I preferred Risk to Cryptic Writings, but that's kind of changed. My second favourite is Euthanasia, and my favourite out of all these, I would say, is Endgame. So kind of interesting. Obviously, I'm sure that is, not what everybody's favourite, list of favourites would look like, but it is mine. So there you go. Yeah, I guess you could say I quite enjoy some Megadeth now and again. Anyway, thanks for watching this. Hopefully you found that kind of interesting. I have rambled a bit, but obviously I wanted to cover some points on each album. And I'll catch you all in another video. So take care, bye just now.